Hello everybody, welcome to the latest edition of the Coaching Conversation. In this series, we're aiming to help business owners, business leaders and fellow coaches by sharing our experience and the experience of our guests who've coached people all around the world in all of different sectors and industries that you can imagine. So very little more to say other than do please now sit back, relax and enjoy this edition, and look out for a special offer for our loyal audience at the end of the programme. Hello everybody and welcome to this edition of the Coaching Conversation. And joining us all the way from Switzerland today is Rick Yvanovich. And we're going to talk about his role as a passionate executive coach. Rick, welcome to the Coaching Conversation. Could you please explain your very interesting background as an author, as an entrepreneur, now as a coach, and quite why you're in such a lovely place like Switzerland right now?
Yeah, thanks for having me on your show. Now, before I really dive into all of that in great detail, I'd quickly like to share a core belief that I hold rather dear. We all have the potential to be architects of change. In today's era, defined by this constant transformation, our task isn't just to keep up, but to actively shape the path forward. So if you look at me, it's in my history, it's from I started stacking shelves in a supermarket in the UK because I'm a Brit. That's Sainsbury's. Thank you, Sainsbury's. I later changed and immersed myself into the more precise world of the debits and credits of accounting, and later now navigating this constantly evolving landscape of technology and really humans. So my story really demonstrates the power of transformation and continuous learning and the significant impact each one of us can make. So every day our actions, it doesn't matter if they're big or small, they shape our future. And as we discuss coaching today, I want everybody listening to remember this. You are your brand, and every decision that you make is part of the unique story that you are crafting for yourself. How you react, how you adapt, how you innovate in the face of all of this change will define your story and your legacy. This belief inspiring each of us to aim for balanced fulfillment is the cornerstone of my work. It's my life purpose at the moment. So as we dive into our conversation today, let's not just think about adapting to change, but about how we can define it. After all, when we embrace all these unique abilities that we each have, and we strive for that personal growth, we're not just participants, but we're catalysts in our ever-changing business as unusual world. So let's get started with those questions.
Well, thanks, Rick. So now, what is the work that you do to help people be these architects of change?
Good question. I think it's the message that I beginning to keep repeating is life is a series of choices. Okay, we choose to do something or we choose not to do something, and arguably success is about making a lot less of those bad choices or wrong choices and more of those right choices. And they don't have to be big choices. They can be very teeny tiny ones. A very, very simple one could be, for those of you listening, you may be listening for the first time. Have you hit that subscribe button because you're hearing good content on this podcast? Okay, that little choice may change a more positive trajectory of your future. So I'm into trying to educate people that it is about choice and we are accountable for our own choices. And that's what I've been doing at universities. I mean, I've just relocated to Switzerland. I've been in Vietnam for the past 34 years. And I'm now beginning to do workshops at various universities. I only started last month. I did two last month. When I go back to Vietnam next month, I'll do another two. And it's really speaking to those undergraduates, showing them that life is about choices, that you have to be accountable, and then also giving them some tools to help shape their way forward.
As a coach, as a passionate coach,
Mm.
do you do much work on a one-to-one basis with individuals?
I do. Yes, I do. I took a bit of a break because it's not that easy to relocate from one end of the planet to the other. And I have a big operation out in Vietnam. But yes, I'm restarting again all my coaching as I've rebranded myself, and my new website will be launched or relaunched before the end of the year. And yeah, I am taking on one-on-one coaching again.
And so in the past, these one-on-one coaches, what would a typical client or a client organization look like?
Well, I think in my coaching journey's been about 5 years. So it's really in the last year or two that I've begun to really starting sort of triaging who are my clients. You know, when I started out my coaching journey and I'm all eager, I'll try and coach anybody. People will ask me, and I'll say, yes, sure. That's as an internal coach, as an external coach. And since I'm doing it more at the time, I won't say it's a hobby, but it's in addition to my day job, as it were. A lot of that was pro bono. In the last few years, I shouldn't do this for free because if you do things for free, maybe that's the value that people put on it, zero. And that's not quite right because I think the way that they enter the relationship isn't quite right. So I've been working through who the best people are that I coach. Where do I really enjoy it? Is number one. And number two is where am I actually moving the needle? That enjoyment thing is very, very important. I mean, we are talking about passionate coaching, aren't we?
Yeah.
And so if I'm not enjoying it, how can I be passionate about it? I'm finding out I like coaching these people. I don't like coaching these people so much. I like coaching in this way and over these time periods. I don't like coaching in these time periods. So I've coached a huge spectrum of people from interns, so they haven't even left university and not too sure what to do with their life, all the way to, yeah, you know, they're CEOs, they're C-level executives, they're about to retire, they're thinking of pivoting, what are they going to do? So massive age range, massive seniority range, different nationalities, different countries, some face to face, a lot of it virtual because a lot of this has been during the pandemic, hasn't it? Um, and I'd say the bulk of it has been probably 80% has been on an individual basis. Only 20% has been corporate work.
Right. And on the individual basis, the one-to-one work and your triage, have you decided what you think your sweet spot is, the kind of executives you'd like to be helping with your coaching?
Absolutely. I think the sweet spot is I'm an accountant by training, so I happen to like coaching accountants because I can resonate with them. I also like coaching. They don't have to be senior people, but people who have an active interest in they want to self-improve. Um, I do have a bit of a soft spot for startups, startups, founders, co-founders, those early employees. Also, what's the other one? Yeah, hyperachievers.
Right. And what would a hyperachiever definition be? What would one of those look like?
Hmm. Okay. The common thing that I find with a high achiever or hyperachiever is they're usually very, very goal orientated, and they achieve goals and they keep setting them. The issue is that after a time, they achieve a goal and its value to them, they might have feel some kind of positive uplift for a couple of split seconds, and then like, what's the next goal? So I'm finding with a lot of those people that despite the fact that they are high achievers and they're progressing fast and they're achieving maybe wonderful things, is there's a tendency that they feel a little bit empty inside. Okay, because I'd say there's a bit of a disconnect of the whole purpose of why they are achieving these goals and where they're heading. All right, yeah, so maybe it's a loss of meaning or a lack of meaning or a lack of purpose.
That's an interesting
Um,
insight. Yeah, most hyperachievers I get to see and work with, they enjoy the destination, but they're not too good at enjoying the journey. And when
mm,
done exactly as you said, once they've achieved something, they're on to the next thing, which can
yeah,
be in one dimension, but it does make for some not so happy people.
yeah, it does. It's it's very interesting, because I did a TEDx talk recently back in a few months ago. It's on YouTube, and I'm a baby boomer, and I was educated or inculcated, beaten into us literally that, you work hard, right? You work hard. And if you work hard, you'll get somewhere. Okay. And it's always, where's the next target? To move up the ladder, career ladder, you've got to keep on going up. You've got to achieve more. So it's all about achieving the next thing, achieving more, achieving more, achieving more. And you end up in that cycle, like you're achieving all this, but so what? What was the point? Okay. So in my TEDx, I decided to knock that on the head and realize that for years I have been achieving stuff, and it actually took a coach to tell me that I'm a hyperachiever, and I said I'm not an achiever. Like, what are you talking about? I haven't achieved anything. And his test was, next time you're having dinner, go tell your family and see what their reaction is. So I did around the dinner table, and they all fell on the floor laughing. I thought, what have I achieved? Well, you've done this, you've got all of these credentials, you've built these companies. Like, well, so what? Doesn't everybody do this? What's the problem? It's like there's a real disconnect there. Um, and it's a bit like, slow down, just stop and see where you are. It's, a little bit of mindfulness there is, where are you? What are you doing? What is the point of all of this? And I think I'm finding a lot of achievers, myself included, is like, good question. If you take all, I got another mountain to climb or another achievement or an accolade to get, like if you take all that away, what is the point of all of this? And even if you don't take it away, what is the point of all of this? And it doesn't matter if you're working for yourself and it's your own company, or you're working for someone else. Again, what is the point of all of this? And then it creates that hole. And it's a horrible feeling when you suddenly feel it. And that's hyperachievers, but that same feeling, okay, for those of people listening who say, well, I'm not a hyperachiever, I'm not that silly. During the pandemic, okay, that's when it triggered within me, and I saw in others that so many people were a little bit lost. My analogy is prior to the pandemic, We got up early, we commuted to work, we went into the office, we sat down in a little cube and jumped onto the hamster wheel. And we did that day in, day out, day in, day out. And then the pandemic came along, they threw the hamster wheel away, they threw the cube away, and in some cases, they threw the office away. And now, like, what does it mean? I can't commute to anywhere. And even if I got to the office, I had to distance myself. And then now things are so-called normalized, and there may be real offices to go back to. And I might even have a cube to go back to. Maybe I don't want to, and I don't like it in my cube anymore. So what is the point? What am I supposed to do? And they're the fortunate ones. The unfortunate ones, their cubes were thrown away. The office has been thrown away because they're 100% virtual now, or their business went bankrupt, or their industry got decimated, and they've had to pivot into another career. Wow. So for a lot of people, that's a big hole that was being created. And that emptiness, that something's not quite right, is a horrible feeling.
It is.
And it's something that I think coaches can really help fill.
So when your clients come to you, your executive clients come to you, is there a typical background, a typical reasoning, what they're looking for, why they're seeking help? Is that something that you see regularly, or are they all unique?
I'd say everybody is, there's an element, or there is a uniqueness in everyone because we're all unique. What I've sort of consolidated down to where I think I enjoy coaching the most, and I manage to move the needle the most, is helping people get unstuck. Okay. So a person could be stuck because they're feeling a bit empty. All right. And the moment they feel like that, it's like they haven't got their foot down to the pedal anymore. They're not going flat out. They're slowing down about them, like wondering why am I going so fast? What am I doing? What is the point of all of this? So they're pausing. And that pausing can be that feeling of slowing down, or it could be feeling of like, I don't know where I'm going, I'm getting lost, I'm going in circles. I'm not getting to where I want to be, wherever that was in the first place. So that feeling, I realized that I like those engagements. I really do, because to me, it's a conundrum. It's maybe a problem to be solved. Okay, so that appeals to my problem-solving nature. And I realized that I'm just going to get them from where they are, let's call it A, and get them to where they need to be or want to be, and let's just call that B. I'm just going to get them from A to B. Once I've done that, that's it, I've finished.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm potentially useless to them beyond that. Okay. Unless they're stuck again, they want to go somewhere. So the steady state for me doesn't work because I lose interest. Maybe for me, there's no challenge. I know I can still help them, but I'm not passionate about doing it. I'm not geared for that. I can recommend other great coaches who are really passionate about that, and they can do that.
So how would you help? What techniques would you use to help someone that comes to you who is stuck?
Really trying to understand the why behind it, or getting them to understand the why. So I'm really trying to help them understand why they feel stuck. Okay. And that's where the uniqueness comes in. And for some, I'm finding with a lot of people, again, it's maybe how I pick them, and what I'm looking for, and what gets attracted to me is that they're stuck, they're doing whatever they're doing. And I'm finding a lot of people, there's a question mark, or there is an absence of a life purpose. Okay. And when that happens, yeah, the initial work is to help establish that. Okay. Because
Are
once
there,
we've got that established, then we have a direction. We know where B is supposed to be.
yeah. Are there any specific tools you use for helping people establish their new set of purpose or new set
Yeah, yes, I do. I have a 9-step methodology to help formulate, or not to help, to formulate a life purpose statement. Because it's not just establishing what the life purpose is, but it's helping put it down into words in a very succinct statement.
And how long would it take you with a client? How many sessions, over what length of time for you to establish the new sense of purpose and then to get action and progress towards it?
I guess it's a little bit of a sort of how long is a piece of string. It depends on the client. Um, they may have some ideas in their mind. They may have no ideas in their mind about this. So it means the starting point is different. And also, as we go through the methodology, it's how much time do people, or does an individual want to put into it to work it out,
Right.
you know? Um, so it could be, it's 9 steps. We could do that in 9 sessions. We could do that in one session. I know when my life purpose statement was put together, it was usually a different methodology, but I did that during a coaching course, and the coach did it with me in 45 minutes.
Wow.
Okay.
Mm.
That was 5 years ago. When I did my TEDx earlier this year, as I was writing it and preparing it, I actually realized that my life purpose had to change. And that sort of evolved over a series over a month or so, as I realized that my current life purpose was no longer resonating due to the what I was saying in the TEDx.
Right. And a session with a client is typically how long? An individual?
I typically say an hour. I like scheduling an hour, but there's flexibility. Again, it depends on the other person. I'm very, very flexible about this. There's some people says, no, it's an hour. It's going to start here, end there, bye. Okay. They're very rigid with their time. Or, I was doing a coaching yesterday. We only had an hour scheduled and we went on for 2.5 hours because that's what it required for me to get them to unstuck and get all those actions out so they felt comfortable and they can move on.
Hmm.
It takes as long as it takes. Um, and my current approach to coaching is when I engage with something, I'm going to give it 200%. I'm absolutely going to give it 200%. I'm trying to get them unstuck. I'm trying to get them to where they need to be. All right. And yeah, if it takes me more time, it takes me more time. That's it.
You mentioned that you've lived and worked in Vietnam for a long time. You're a
Mhm.
Brit, but you're also now living in Switzerland. When it comes to coaching individuals, do you find that culture, ethnicity, does any of that play any part in making the task easier or more difficult?
Um,
Or is it just personality? Or...
well, okay, there's always the chemistry between the coach, in this case me, and the coachee, the client. There's and the nationality to me actually doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It may matter more to the other person. Okay, and maybe I say that a little bit flippantly because yes, I am a Brit, so I've lived in the UK. I've also lived in Switzerland. This is the second time I've lived here. I've lived in Singapore. I've lived in China. I've lived in Vietnam on and off for 34 years. But I've also done business in 30, my company, we do business in 80 different countries. I visited like 39, 40 of them. So I've dealt with people from all around the planet. And, fundamentally, there is a similarity between all of us. We're all humans.
Yeah.
We're all humans. Yes, there are some nuances, okay, between different especially different regions. But as the coach, it's the coach that needs to be cognizant of that. Our job as coaches is to make our clients feel safe. Okay. And because of that, as coaches, it is incumbent on us. We absolutely must create that environment. So, yeah, we must be cognizant of maybe a language difference. In Vietnam, I'm teaching a lot of people who are Vietnamese, coaching people who are Vietnamese, and their English maybe is not fluent. And my Vietnamese is like, on a scale of one is low and 100 is high. I'm maybe single digits still. There's so many nuances in the language that there's no way I could have a proper conversation in that language. So have to adjust for that. And there are other things. So go back to your question, face to face or virtual. Before I used to do it all face to face until we had COVID, and we spent years of doing things virtual, and now that's pretty standard, I'd say.
So when we look at the cross section of people that you work with, and do you have a sweet spot in terms of sector or industry? You mentioned accountancy before. Are they all professionals, or do they come from manufacturing? Any particular sweet spot there?
Probably my biggest sweet spot are startups,
Right.
startup companies, mainly because I've been through it. I've run several startups. I've created a few. Some have been successful. Some have crashed and burned. So my style of coaching is maybe a little bit different. Okay. I can do, ICF style, if you call it process coaching, if that's what people want, no problem. However, I tend to do a different style of coaching. I call it dungeon coaching, by the way, because I'm going to stretch you, because we all know that growth begins beyond your comfort zone. So, I'm going to create that safe environment where you're going to allow me to come into your dungeon, okay, willingly, and I'm going to stretch you.
Wow, what a mental image that is.
Why startups, because I have the experience. So it is a mix of traditional sort of process coaching, mentoring, advising. At the end of the day, if that's what you want and you want to move from A to B and get unstuck, then I will get you unstuck.
So, as a coach, what is it that you enjoy? What gives you the greatest satisfaction from this kind of work?
I like I like it when I trigger those aha moments when I can see literally those light bulbs are going off in people, especially when I'm speaking to a client and they're sort of saying this is where they are and they're stuck, and there's a negativity there. Okay, they're on a bit of a downer. They're not saying, yeah, I'm stuck. They're not saying that. And then through the coaching, you get to some kind of point and suddenly the light bulbs start going off and they go, yes, I see it. Now I know what to do. Okay. And their whole demeanor changes. They literally light up. Okay. So, and the moment they start light up, say, yes, I now know what to do, or this is what I'm going to do, or, I'm not too sure what to do, but these are the actions I'm going to take. All right. I like them, moving from that I'm sort of a bit lost in a maze to I now have a plan. I now can move forward. Um, and their whole the way they I can't see them walk, but the way that they just sit, their facial expressions, it all begins to start lighting up, and I can feel that they feel so much better.
Right.
Okay. And then if there are follow-up calls at all, we can see the progress that they've made. And yeah, if they say, right, Rick, we're done. Fine, wonderful.
From your background and moving into coaching as you have done, what tips, what advice would you give to somebody who's perhaps listening to this, watching this program and thinking of becoming a coach? What would you say to them?
Take some action. Don't just think about it, act. Okay. Now, I didn't decide to become a coach. I really didn't. The journey started 5 or 6 years ago. And there was a company offering some courses locally in Ho Chi Minh City, and it was a coaching and mentoring course. And I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. I've heard a lot about coaching and mentoring, and I like racking up letters after my name, and I like racking up certifications. I thought, oh, this is a new thing. I'm a numbers person. I'm not great with people, as it were, but I need to be. Um, I was not going to invest. I think it was like 5 days or even more of my time. I thought that's nuts. But you could go on to module one, which is only 2 days. I thought that will do. Okay. And after the first day, I felt in love with it and signed up for the whole thing, because as I got educated properly on what coaching and mentoring is about, I realized um, I've been doing it for years. It's just not what I called it. You know, um, as you know, whether I'm wearing a CFO hat or a CEO hat, if you're more senior in an organization and you have more junior people around you, whether you have the title or not, you have experience. Okay, and I've always been one to pass on my knowledge and experience to others, because hey, I went on that journey as well to get up there. And if it wasn't for some people, sharing knowledge, teaching me, mentoring me, and helping me move up, I would never have got to where I've got to. So again, I'm just doing exactly the same because that's what the people around me did. And I've realized that, oh, okay, if you reframe it and you follow certain frameworks, it's either called coaching or mentoring.
Yeah.
Okay. And so if you're thinking about it, don't think too hard. Go find a course and just give it a go. You don't have to commit to a 1 year commitment or something. Go and find something, a teaser course or something, and just try it out. Okay. It's a bit like, how do you know whether you like it or you don't like it if you haven't tried it?
Yeah. Good advice. Good advice. Rick, we're coming to the end of the program now. If any of the audience want to find you, how can they go about doing exactly that?
Okay. The easiest thing is to go onto the internet and Google my name, Rick Yvanovich, and click on any of the links that turn up, because there's only one of me on the planet with that name. It's a little bit unusual.
Rick,
And you'll find me on literally any social media under the name of Rick Yvanovich. And you'll find my website under the name of rickivanovich.com. So all roads from my name on the internet will lead to me.
brilliant. Rick, it's been a joy speaking with you. Thanks for your time. And everybody, thanks for listening. Hope it's helped you with your journey through coaching, and we'll see you again next time. Bye. So, there you have it, the latest edition of the Coaching Conversation. Hope you enjoyed it, hope you found it useful, and I hope it did what it set out to do. As promised at the beginning of the program, here is a special offer for you, our loyal audience. If you reach out to me at gwiley@sagereen.com and mention this podcast, we'll make available to you a coaching program for you and or your team at a 50% discount. So where can you reach us? So it's definitely gwiley@sagereen.com. You can also reach us at the Executive Mindset at sagereen.com, and our website is clearly theexecutivemindset.co.uk. If you enjoyed this, do please leave us with a wonderful rating on Google. We'd really appreciate that. So nothing more for me to say now other than see you again soon.